you? Anybody just want to be close to him on this morning? I don't know about you, just need to be close to him.
Draw me close. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now. Y'all got the folks from outside. They say, oh, they coming in praising like we did in East Texas, Mississippi. They came in and like, let me see what's going on up in here. I know Deacon was happy that. Come on. Well, so to start, I want to commission the praise team. When we get down into April, I like to somehow figure out how we can record some of these songs and do we won't call it a workshop or whatever it is, but for us to talk about these songs so our children can know, but also talk about the songs we sing now so that we can understand why we sing these songs, but that then you can take these songs in your car and play them. Because it's hard sometimes to get Heaven 97. Your reception, I don't know about your car, but my car is ragged, it's getting ragged at times, but I can't get the reception good on Heaven 97 sometimes my car. That's just me personally, right? And we don't have an FM gospel station unless it's Sunday morning for about a couple hours. But if we can give you a good CD and give that to your hand, and let's say that's the Resurrection Sunday gift. But we discussed it sometime before. Maybe that Sunday we talked about it. But I tell you, if you have Mother McLeod get you ready on a Monday morning, you come in ready. I don't care what your boss got to say. I'm the on time now, you better get on. I know I'm late, but he on time. Amen. 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 Sister.
Good morning, everybody. That's on life, Mama. That's on life. So what we're going to talk a little bit about today is how persuaded, how convinced are you in faith in God? Are you like James? That's on life. That regardless of my situation, I will trust in God. Are you convinced, right, that God has your back, that God is going to step in? Or are you just playing games, right? The key thing about James right here is that nothing, not even his mama, he thought his mama crazy, right? He thought her crazy. That's on life, mama. I'm so convinced, I'm so persuaded that this is my girl. Right? And you don't know. Are you that way when it comes to faith in God? That nothing can shake you. That nothing can turn you, right? That there's no doubt in your mind that God got your back and that God is going to step into your situation. Because that is what we're going to talk about today, right? There is a word from Genesis chapter 15 and 16. Pastor Mark, get it.
Amen. Everybody stand up for a second. Just stand up. Stand up, 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 stand up. Every Sunday, y'all come in here and y'all do one faith move every Sunday. Y'all don't even question. Y'all practice trust and faith every Sunday. Y'all don't even know what it is. Sister Mickey, you raise your hand. What you think it is? You sit. Sit down. Did you look at the seat? Did you see if you were going to sit? Did you test it? You just sat your behind down, didn't you? Sit down. Sit down. See, so now y'all ain't still gonna test. Some of y'all just got right back there. Why? Why? Because you saw somebody else sit and it worked. You didn't practice it before and it worked. So why did you didn't even fret or test it, right? Because it was credible. And here in this chapter 15, we have Abraham coming out of chapter 14 where he saved Lot, where he gave 10% of the spoil to the priest. He did all those things, and then he comes into 15, and God said, you know what? I will be your shield. Don't you fear, I got you. And Abraham said, but you know what I got? I don't have an heir. The only thing I got, at the age of 75, my wife is 65, all I got is a servant in my house that could be my heir. I don't have nobody from my own body. And God told him, from your flesh, you shall have an heir. From your flesh, from 75 years old plus, I'm going to make sure from your own flesh, Abraham, you're going to have your heir. That's a promise he gave. It says that he counted it towards Abraham's righteousness, to Abraham's faith. Why? Because he said to Abraham, you believe, Abraham. He believed what God had to say to him. He believed the word of God. just as we sit in these seats, do you have faith in God that you don't even test it out? You just roll right into it. Do you have faith in God when you look at other people and what God has done in their life and you take that as a method? If God can do that in their life, I know God can do it in my life. I know God can do that for Abraham. God can do it for me. I know God can save Paul. He can save me. If God can turn around my finances, I know he can turn around other people's finances. That you yourself are a testimony of God's goodness, of God's grace. And so here you go. You are walking in your promise, Sister Kellee.
So if you will, turn to Genesis chapter 16. Verse 1, Genesis chapter 16, it says, Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, and she had an Egyptian maid whose name was Hagar. Sarah, Abram's wife, had no children and had an Egyptian maid named Hagar. So when we go back and we take a look, and in those days, barrenness, so the ability to not have children, right, was considered a curse. It was considered something that people felt like you are in a bad situation. God has cursed you, right? On top of the fact that if you were barren, your husband could divorce you. So it was that big and that severe of a situation. And so here we have Sarah. And Pastor Mark talked about a promise, right? Abraham heard the promise from God that he would have descendants, right? That he would have a multitude of descendants, right? But that promise happened 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, God gave the promise to Abram. It's 10 years later, and Sarah is still barren. All right? So she's still barren. Sarah is in the waiting game. So when I was 25 years old, I was single. Say single. Single. I was single. And I was really at that point where I was tired of Valentine's Day. Yes, are you tired of Valentine's Day? And when you go, it's supposed to be Valentine's Day, it's supposed to be with your boo, but I don't have one. So me and my girls are hanging out. So I was tired of Valentine's Day. The other significant thing was at 25, I had never had a boyfriend. So I was praying and asking God, like, what is going on, right? And so I went to seminary. So first I went to, and Pastor Mark talked about it, I went to this HBCU, right? And I thought for sure, if I knew somebody at this HBCU, right? So I get there, nothing. So I said, okay, well maybe they're worldly. They're worldly. So now I'm going to seminary. I'm getting ready to see some real holy people, right? And this is where the Lord is going to have my person. Nothing, right? And so all these years, and then on top of that, I'm listening to my mama. Right? And so my mama said, when I was 25, I had 2 kids. I was married, I had 2 kids. Right? So now I'm getting nervous. Because nobody's looking my way. And I'm tired of going out for Valentine's Day, right? We're in the same situation as Sarah, right? I've been waiting, and there's no response. Look at verse 2. So it says, So Sarah said to Abram, Now behold, the Lord has prevented me from bearing children. This right here is serious, right? She says, the Lord has restrained me from bearing children. Sarah understood that God was sovereign over her womb, and he had promised descendants, but we haven't heard anything from God in 10 years. I'm still not pregnant. And what we hear from Sarah in this verse is pain. We hear pain from Sarah. Why, God? Why me? Right? You hear pain of prayers not answered. I prayed for it. I waited patiently, and I haven't heard from you, Lord. I don't know about you, but I don't know if you've ever had the pain of prayers not answered. Right? So Proverbs 13:12 says, the pain of hope deferred makes the heart sick. I'm sick, God. I've been asking God. I wanted God. My soul is sick. And you say nothing. And this is where Sarah is. Let's keep going. She says, please go into my maid. Perhaps I will obtain children through her. And Abram listened to the voice of Sarah. That's not today's sermon, but that's something to put to the side. I don't know why Abram not here listening to Sarah. But okay. Abram listened Verse 4, he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her sight. Verse 5, and Sarai said to Abram, may the wrong done me be upon you. I gave you my maid into your arms, but when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her sight. May the Lord judge between you and me. And verse 6, but Abram said to Sarai, behold, your maid is in your power. Do to her what is good in your sight. So Sarai treated her harshly, and she fled from her presence. So this is what Sarai did. We have our problem, right? Our problem is I'm barren. My problem is I prayed. I've asked God. I've heard nothing from God. So here is Sarah's response. To help with you, God. That's Sarah's response. To help with you. You not giving me an answer, so I'll make one on my own. Right? Sarah says this idea or this ideology that God helps those who help themselves. Right? So Sarah says, I'm going to create a plan, and I'm going to tell my husband what to do. So Sarah has three options when it comes to her barrenness. She could, one, wait on God. But in her mind, that's whack. I've already waited, and I haven't heard anything. Her second option is this guy named Eleazar. So Eleazar is Abram's male servant. And so according to the customs of that time, the male servant could be the heir and receive the inheritance. But God said, no, the heir is going to come from Abram himself, right? So Eleazar is not an option. But her third option is a surrogate. That's Hagar, right? That is a part of the custom as well. It's acceptable. It was acceptable for Sarai to do that. But how many of you know that even though something is acceptable in the world, it's not acceptable to God? Right? The Bible says everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Right? We live in the world, but we're not of the world. Right? So what we see from Sarah and Abram is this faithless act. And when you insert your plan into God's plan, it never works out. It never works out. So that is not faith in action or active faith. God doesn't need your help. He doesn't need your help. Sometimes the best action you can do is nothing. It's nothing. It's to sit back and wait. And nothing is an action. While I'm waiting, I'm working. While I'm waiting, I'm worshiping. While I'm waiting, I'm praying, right? 2 Chronicles 20:17 says, you need not fight this battle. You need not fight this battle. Station yourselves. Stand and see the salvation of the Lord on your behalf. He is working on your behalf. That's what happens when you do nothing and you wait on God to step in. That's more.
Amen. 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 The first 2 points, the first point is talking about Abraham. The second point is talking about Sarah. Now the third point is going to talk about Hagar. I want you to go into verse 6, and you kind of catch that, the last part of that kind of 6b. So Sarah treated her harshly, talking about Hagar, and she fled Hagar from her presence. Hagar has been mistreated poorly. She's a slave. She's been treated harshly. Probably been beaten, probably been all kinds of cursed out, talked about. And Hagar says, I've had enough. So she leaves in verse 7. And we find in verse 7 that the angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. He said, Hagar, Sarah's maid, where have you come from and where are you going? And she said, I'm fleeing from the presence of my mistress, Sarah. I need you to understand that she has been mistreated. She has every right to leave. And if anything, as we as a black folk know, slavery ain't right. So she leaves the harshness. She leaves the persecution. She leaves the mistreatment. She leaves. She's done nothing wrong. I need us to understand that. Truly, Hagar has done nothing wrong. And Hagar says, I'm going to leave. But she's leaving into a wilderness, and she's probably unlikely making her way back home. making her way back home. What is there? Because remember, she was sold into slavery. She was sold into and broken and separated from her family, separated from her people, separated from her home, and then forced into a work, forced into a situation. And now she's escaped it, but she's escaped into a wilderness. And I need to understand that wilderness means a place of desperation. A wilderness means a place of depression. A wilderness means a place of destruction. A place of lostness. Or when you're in a wilderness state, you're in a place that you cry out and you are broken, you are afflicted, and you are suffering. You are in a place of a wilderness.
Verse 9 says, the angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit yourself to her authority. Verse 10, moreover, the angel of the Lord said to her, I will greatly multiply your descendants so that they will be too many to count. Pastor Mark told us that she is coming from a terrible place, right? Her mistress, now keep in mind, now Sarah asked for this, right? She said, go ahead and do it, and now she's upset about it. But okay, that's for another day. So now you're upset that all that has happened, right? And now you're treating Hagar, really mean, right? And so Hagar decides that she's going to leave. So she's leaving from a terrible place, but she doesn't really know where she's going, right? And on this way, the angel of the Lord comes in and gives her a plan of action. The key thing for us to really understand is that Hagar, in this situation, the angel of the Lord tells her, return back to your mistress. She trusted God enough to go back into a bad situation. She had to go back into that bad situation. Right? It says, and what I'm trying to explain is that I'm not sure if you've ever been in a situation where you feel stuck, where you feel there's no way out, and God says, stay there. God says, remain in that spot. Go back into this situation because greater is coming for you. Right? So God tells her to stay there. The angel of the Lord tells her to go back to her mistress. And all she has to do is stay the course, remain faithful. So verse 11 says, the angel of the Lord said to her further, behold, you are with child, and you will bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has given heed to your affliction. This right here is dope, right? So she is going to bear a son. God gives the name for the son. The son's name is Ishmael, and Ishmael means the Lord hears your affliction. He hears you in your situation. He hears you even though you're in a place where you can't move, where you feel stuck, where you're unhappy. The Lord hears you. You're not alone in that place, right? And sometimes we feel like that. And the key thing about Hagar is she was comforted in knowing just that even in my messed up state, God hears me. If he don't do nothing else for me, he hears me in this place that I'm in right now. And that was enough for her to turn around and go back to that mistress. In your spot, in your situation, God hears you. God sees you.
As we have explained this, can we apply this to our life? Say this is your boxes issues, and in your issues you got bills. Anybody got bills? You got bills, student loan bills. I know some of y'all got student loan bills. That's why some of y'all keep going to school. Y'all got kids. Some of y'all got kids. Some of y'all don't even got kids. Y'all got nephews and nieces. And they still showing up to your house. Some of y'all got health problems. Some of y'all like Pastor Mark trying to get the diabetes and high blood pressure and all this other stuff. You got health problems. Some of y'all worried at night. Y'all got anxiety. It's Sunday, and y'all worried about Monday already. Like, Lord, I got to go up in this, and I don't like them people. They're going to talk to me. Some of y'all got a fear. Y'all fear so much, y'all won't even apply for another job. Y'all got no applications out there because y'all just in fear. You're in fear. Because, see, many times you already been disappointed. You never got the call back. Or you may have had the interview, but at the interview they said, well, you're actually not what we're looking for. You've been disappointed. You had all your hopes and dreams, and then some relationships that are not working out like it was supposed to. And maybe you don't have the relationship that you thought you would have. You just hurt. And there's some dreams that you had. Some of us have gotten closer to 40, and when you were young, you had a dream of doing this and doing that. You had a dream of being booed up. You had a dream of being all these things, but them dreams haven't come into reality. But then some of y'all, the last week, you said, I was going to quit. You want to quit this week. You wanted to quit last month. You wanted to quit last year. You wanted to quit the year before. You always want to quit because you hate this job. So, but you ain't got no other job. That's what paying the bills. You hate what you do. You don't like work. And some of y'all family is your issue. Some of y'all, after y'all leave this place, when y'all get in that car, you're going to like, if you don't shut up, I'm just tired of hearing your voice. I'm not my family. I love all of my people. But the family can be your issue. Sometimes family calls you in the middle of the night. You ain't never heard from the family, but the family gonna call you because they need some money, and they know it's the first of the month you just got paid. Or they know the 15th, the first of the month. Some of my old folks gonna catch that later on. But the family, all of that, your issues. And when we look at all three people, they're gonna have a categorized faith. When we look at Abraham, he had what we call a wimpy faith. A faith that ain't gonna pick up this box. A faith that's not gonna deal with what's in that box. It's a faith that's wimpy. A faith that's inactive, that's dormant. 10 years prior, he was so bold, he got all his best troops and went and saved his nephew. He went and he was big and bad. He stood up to the king of Sodom. He gave a 10 and said, I'm with God. And he said, God is my shield. He did all that. But 10 years later, he let his wife punk him out. He let his wife say anything like, yeah, okay, whatever you say, baby. You want me to go sleep with your slave? Okay. No, she Egyptian. Now I want you to understand, Hagar, the younger woman, she ain't 65. She ain't 75. Oh, you want me to sleep with her? Okay. You just bring her to my tent. Or I go to her tent, whatever you say. He ain't got to a point where he had stopped listening to God and he was listening to other folks. Some of us have gotten into a wimpy faith where we have stopped listening to what God's word has said. We have stopped listening to what God is trying to say in our life, and we start listening to other folks. And even folks that may be well-intentioned, but they are not in the plan, in the program of God, and we know that, and we know God has not destined us for that. But we say, all right, whatever you say. And so we have a wimpy faith.
Yeah, so maybe you don't have a wimpy faith. Maybe you're better than Abram, and your faith is not wimpy. But maybe you have that DIY faith. You have that Sarai faith, that do-it-yourself kind of faith. So DIY, they said it's a method of building, modifying, or repairing things without the direct aid of experts or professionals. You don't need a professional, right? So the water is overflowing at the house. You're going to go ahead and get your hammer, wrench, whatever, and do it yourself. You're not going to pay the plumber. You're not going to pay the mechanic, right? You're going to do it all by yourself. You got that IKEA faith, right? That IKEA faith. And one of the things that we like about IKEA is, number one, it's cheap, right? And number two, not only is it cheap, but it's pretty easy. Supposed to be foolproof, right? Until you actually get in there. Because I have ruined many IKEA furniture because, one, I couldn't read the directions because I lost the English one and now I'm dealing with the Dutch-German version. Or the second one is I ruined it because I put the nail in the wrong spot. That's the IKEA faith. And this is what Sarah is dealing with, right? She's in a situation where God has not answered her prayer, right? Or in the time that she wanted the prayer to be answered. And so what she does is she fixes her own problem, right? And so Pastor Mark, we put in our problems in here. And so this is what Sarah did, right? Sarah went and got her tools, right? And so she put her hammer in there. And she tried to fix her problems. She fixed her bills, right? She fixed her relationships. She fixed her family. She fixed her health, right? She put all of those tools and tried to work and fix her problem, right? And then when it was time to carry the load, Pastor Mark showed us, when it was time to carry the load, it's a mess. And that's what you're doing with your do-it-yourself thing. You out here trying to piece it together, duct tape it together, and it's a mess because you refuse to wait on God. When we look at Sarah, what Sarah did not only impacted her, Sarah impacted her children, her children's children, and generations to come. When you are walking in sin and stepping out of the will of God, you are making an impact on your children. Sin doesn't just stop with you. It impacts your children and your children's children and generations to come. Stepping outside of the will of God is sin. Point blank, period. So while you're out here trying to do it yourself, you out here creating mess. And then after, what you gonna want? Here you want God. Come on, God, help me. Come on, help me get this. Help me get it all back together again. Right? So that do-it-yourself faith. Some of you got that wimpy faith. Some of you have that do-it-yourself faith.
But then we come to Hagar, who has a great faith. Hagar has a faith that a great faith means an unrelenting, totally persuaded type of faith that does not give up until the request has been granted. I need you to understand that in this situation, that you had three folks. You had Abraham, Sarah, you had Hagar. Abraham and Sarah are free. Sarah is a slave. She don't have any choices. It all came to her. She didn't have a choice to say, Abraham, back up. She's a slave. She don't own nothing. She is owned. And here, he says, I ran away. I ran away from the mess that was causing me so much turmoil and terror. And now I'm in this wilderness, and God has come to me and said that he hears me. Yeah. And this God said he hears me, but then I had to tell him, I said, you see me. And you not just see me, but you saw me in my affliction. You saw me in my suffering. And then what you told me, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to comfort you. But understand that when you look at the provision, he says this. He said, I'm going to give you a son. His name is Ishmael. But Ishmael going to be wild. I.e., Ishmael that kid that you won't get the phone call at work. Ishmael that kid that you're going to have to go to Lucerne for when he's grown. Ishmael that kid that you probably going to have to take care of his kids. Ishmael ain't going to live this whole life. Why I say that? Because it says that he going to fight folk and folk going to fight him. It also says that he don't have to live east of his brothers. That means he ain't going to even be family with his own folks. He got to be separate from them. He wild. He don't fight. He going to fight him, and he ain't going to be at the family functions. So she didn't go back because of the blessing on Ishmael. Because that sounds like a mess to me. When she went back for it and obeyed God, she said, I see that God sees me. I see that God hears me. I see that God got a comfort on my life. So even though it ain't going to be perfect, because some of us only want to come to church and it's going to be perfect. Some of us only want to accept Jesus Christ and he's going to bless me like that. I got to have these riches and so forth. But you knew, God says, but I got you. I got you even though you don't own nothing. I got you. Even though you low and not lifted up, I got you. Even though you persecuted, I got you. Even though they throw your name out like dirt, I got you. Even though you're going to be a single mama, I got you. Even though they're going to forget about you, I got you. Anyway, I got you. If that's all you knew, wouldn't you have the type of faith that Hagar had? Because that's all she had. He didn't bless her with a mansion. He didn't bless her with a car. He didn't bless her with finances. He just blessed her with a covering over her life. That's what he did. Now that's great faith. But how do we get that? How do we get a great faith? To obtain that, I first got to see that God is in the midst of my situation. I got to realize it. I got to acknowledge it, that I ain't out here by myself. See, Sarah had got to a point. She said, I'm out here by myself. Yeah, it's 10 years later, but I'm out here by myself. But here Hagar, running and praising, running and pregnant and desperate and seeing that God is in the midst of my situation. Amen?
So to obtain great faith, we got to realize that God is in the midst of my situation. But the second thing we have to really realize is that you don't just believe in God. You believe God. The demons believe in God. That doesn't mean just because you believe that there is a God, but what we have to do to obtain great faith is believe God. Believe that God is always with you, right? Believe that God is in control of your situation. Believe that God is good. Believe that God is working all things together for your good, right? So it's believing what God says, that his word is true. And the key thing about that has to be enough. That what he says has to be enough for you. And that he will come through. Because when doubt seeps in is when we wild out. So what we got to do is avoid doubt. Right? And believe that the word of God is true. And I believe him at his word.
Even in the last point, even on that, even when it doesn't make sense, obey God.
Amen.
See, I acknowledge he's in my situation. And I see that. I believe God. But now I obey him and leave the consequences to him. I obey him. Do you think, how humbling was it back for Hagar to go back to Sarah? She had every right to run away. But she came back. Now, when you read the rest of the scripture, it doesn't say that she got persecuted again under Sarah. There must have been a change in Sarah. Hagar has come back. If you see even further, that Ishmael is beloved by Abraham. Ishmael is the first person to be named by God. As God has said, you will call his name Emmanuel. Ishmael, that first one in the Bible, is Ishmael's first name. When Abraham makes a covenant with God and be circumcised, it's Ishmael that takes that circumcision with him. Abraham prays for Ishmael. So all that, she obeyed God, left the consequences to the Lord. She left the consequences to the Lord.
So maybe you guys are in a season where you're kind of feeling like God is deaf to your cries. I've been there, right? Or maybe you think that he is blind to your circumstance. You've been in this circumstance for a long time, and you're trying to figure out, why am I still in this circumstance? Or you feel like God is unable or has decided not to keep his promises. You're not sure what's going on. Or maybe you wonder, if is this God real, right? My life is troublesome and I'm having such a hard time, right? Maybe God is unwilling to listen to me or unwilling to even care. And I want us to go back to Hagar in Genesis chapter 16, verse 13. She called on the name of the Lord who spoke to her. And she said, El Roi. Say El Roi. El Roi. So that means he is the God who sees. So we talked about the God who hears, right? We talked about Ishmael is that God hears my affliction. But he is also the God who sees, right? The God who sees you in your circumstance. The God who cares about you. The God who is making a way and providing for you. He is El Roi.
Do you know that El Roi this morning? The God that sees you in the midst of your job. The God that sees you in the midst of your pain. The God that sees you in the midst of your struggles. Do you know that El Roi? I know that El Roi. That's the God that sees me when I was told that I couldn't be nothing. I know that God that sees me when I want to give up. When I want to give up on my dreams. I know that God, like that little boy said, that's on life. See, that's on life that God has saved me. That's on life that God has delivered me out of my mess. That's on life that God has enough grace and forgiveness for me. That's on life that no matter what I do, that God says, well, I can put you back on the right track. That's on life that when I'm in a pit of despair, God says I can lift you up out of it and put you on a solid rock like my son Jesus. That's on life that Jesus, he sent to die on a cross for me. He sent him to die on a cross for you. That's on life. That's on life that this Jesus went into the tomb and 3 days later, that's on life. I'm tired of tripping. I'm tired of messing up. I'm tired of struggling like this. I'm tired. I know some of y'all tired. But I'm telling you, God, a God that sees you in your suffering. So let's stop tripping. Won't you come down and join this ministry? Accept this Christ as your Lord and Savior. Be a part of this church and have a village that's going to support you, love you, uplift you, encourage you, walk with you through the valley of the shadow of death. And we all going to give God the glory because as we decrease, He going to increase in our life. I know a God that's covering me. I know a God that's got my back. He got my front. He got my left and my right. I got nothing to fear. Nothing to fear. Because I got an elbow here that says He sees me. And right now He sees you. So let's stop tripping. Let's keep it real with one another. You need Jesus. You need this church. We need you. And we love you. The doors of the church are open.